So we so the original question asks the tool or technique that can be used. Customers are complaining the product is underweight. We won't use a scatter diagram that wouldn't give us any useful information. Same is the case for affinity diagram. It doesn't really make sense here. There we would have two choices between the control chart and the histogram. And out of those two, if we want to determine if there really is a problem and where it is, and if the products are consistently underweight, a better metric would be, a more useful metric would be a control chart. It gives us information more precisely. Histogram would just tell us how, if it is a consistent, histogram wouldn't tell us if it is a consistent problem. It will just give us raw data in a bar chart or something.
Very, very rightly said. So it's a control chart. Control chart for the reason that control chart talks about stability of a process.
Yeah, so it will be under the central line or above the central line,
Yes,
basically.
it's like
that.
above the central line, and it's like not really about the central line. It's about like within the UCL, upper control limit, and lower
Low
control.
LCL, yeah,
Right?
LCL, UCL.
Because
Yes.
usually things are not ideal. Things are usually, within the threshold or within the tolerance limit. So they need to check the stability of that production line, or if something needs to be changed. In that case as well, you are going to first represent it on the control chart, and then you are going to you are going to check what's really not working by doing the RCA. Scatter diagram talks about two variables, any two variables with respect to quality, which is not a conversation over here. No mention of the variable is there. Affinity diagram is a very different thing. Affinity diagram talks about, the organization of your data in a more readable and a more presentable way. So it's not really a conversation over here. And I told you while discussing scope management that they usually give you the terminologies which are not so famous or popular. For instance, affinity diagram, or for instance, maybe the prompt list in risk, which is like a very PMI thing, and people are not aware of them with respect to that terminology. So if you know the real idea of that terminology, you will get to know that yes, this is going to be eliminated. This is like just like it doesn't at all make sense with respect to this question, which is exactly the same thing over here. Affinity diagram has nothing to do over here if you know what is affinity diagram. Histogram can be one of the quality tools. However, histogram is like just a bar chart, right? Like as we have seen, it's like a bar chart. And bar charts usually represent certain categories on the axis scale and their occurrence in number or they quantify that categories on the Y scale, which is not again a conversation over here because they have not really mentioned any particular categories of data. They just have mentioned that there is just one category which is underweight. There are not multiple categories, just one area. So it's not a histogram as well. So even if it is Pareto chart, it would have been excluded for the same thing. So maybe someone would say that why it can't be about the length, why it can't be about the measurements or so. I mean, we can't assume whatever is there in the question, you just have that much knowledge or information. Based on that, you need to answer. So it's a control chart which talks about the stability of a process or instability of a process. And if your product is really underweight as per the complaints, then the control chart is going to represent that in the next production. And if it really is a problem, you are going to get to know it based on your upper and lower control limit. And if you are seeing the process out of control after mapping that on the control chart. You need to go back to RCA or cause and effect diagram. You need to fix it.